Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the podcast Kava Talks Opportunities. This is the podcast where I teach you about what opportunities are out here in Australia. This podcast is mainly aimed at people graduating from high school, dropping out, or people who have recently moved here. Over 6 episodes, I will take you through what jobs are out there, the application process, how to apply, what to expect on the interview and the first day, and transitioning from one job to another. So sit back, relax, and hopefully this is educating for you. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 2. Today we are talking about application, what to do for your application to your job. First up, we have a conversation with Danielle Demetrios. Welcome Danielle, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show today. So today we have a few questions for you, so let's get started. What are some of the few things that people need to do to prepare for their application, so when they go to apply for a job?
So first of all, they need to know what jobs they're wanting to apply for, who they're going to apply to, and why they want to apply for those jobs. That way they can prepare their resume, CV appropriately.
Another question people ask is what type of questions they could ask when applying for a job. If they do an online application and there's a questions section, what questions could they ask?
So most places will have obviously general information, and then they'll be wanting to know sort of your skills, experience and knowledge that make you more qualified for that position. But generally they're going to say, what have you done? What makes you right for this position? Why do you want this job? And, sort of trying to get a little bit of an understanding of who you are and what you will bring to that position.
Okay. And for people wondering out there, nowadays, what's the modern term for application? Like, what do? Do you go into the store, or is it an online application?
So most places have an online application system. They either do it through something like Seek or their own individual website, where people can go in, click on apply and fill in details and normally attach some sort of documentation to support their application. However, I often suggest for people to give yourself sort of a bit of a head start on everyone else, that to not only put an online application in, but also maybe go and visit the store that you're applying for or the workplace that you're applying for, introduce yourself, so they sort of go, oh, this person's actually really interested and keen to get this position.
What are a few things people could expect when applying for a job? So when they're filling out the questionnaire, what could they expect to see?
So they'd have stuff like your name, age, sort of your level of education potentially. So whether you're in year 12, college, university, TAFE, what additional qualifications you have, and then also what other experience you have.
And what was your first application like for your very first job?
So my first job in a professional career was actually at Liverpool Boys High School. So the way in which the application process goes for schools is you have to submit a application online meeting certain criteria. Then if you then get past that point, you do an interview, and then they call your references as well.
Thank you. So are there any things that you would like to add to you talking about the application process? Any personal experiences that you had?
I just think it's important to be prepared and to be honest with why you're applying for that job. So if it is just about some casual work, that you're making that known. You're not trying to hide why it is that you are going for that job. I think employers appreciate knowing why someone wants that job and how it's going to benefit them, so that they can work with that person to gain the most success out of that.
And when applying for a job nowadays, do they need to apply to any resume or CV? Do they need to add any of that documentation to their application?
Yes, so most will have a resume, which is often a one-page document that outlines your details and then a brief summary of what's going to be included in your CV. And the CV is then an extended response to that, where you actually go into detail about those qualifications, those experience, and where you would address the selection criteria for the job if there is one.
Right. Thank you for coming on the show with your very interesting information.
Thank you for having me.
Have a wonderful day. That was the interview with Danielle Demetrios. Thank you for that wonderful interview. We'll be right back. And that was a lovely interview by Danielle Demetrios. Thank you for coming in, Danielle. Right. Now it's my take on applications and when you're applying and what's needed in your application. Like Ms. Demetrios said, when applying for a job, make sure you include your CV and your resume, documents that basically sell you off for who you are and show your achievements and where you currently live, and education. What education have you received? Any things that you value in yourself and your charismatics. So personally, when I apply for jobs or when I apply for things, I make sure that I'm trying to sell myself for the best that I can, not doing sort of a crappy job. And when applying for jobs, especially, like Danielle said, it's always good to go in there and show yourself off. Like, oh, hello, my name is, and I've recently applied for a job. I'm just coming in to make sure that you know who I am, and that's me. I applied for the job. This is my name. This is my phone number. Give me a call if you need anything else. And kind of basically let them know. Go to the manager of the workplace and let them know that you have applied. When applying, it's always good to kind of brag about yourself a little bit, because they want to know who you are and they want to learn about you and what you know about the world and about that workplace. And another thing when going for a job or applying for a job is make sure you are presented well with your application. Try to fill in all the answers to the question as best as you can. Try not to brag on about yourself too much. Yes, you can brag on about yourself a little bit, but don't drag it, because then you're like, oh, trying to show off, and maybe he's not the best because he wants everyone to know about him and whatnot. So they might see you as a show off. Just show yourself off, but not too much. Don't overdo it, people. And that's my take on applying for a job. Number one, make sure you try to sell yourself as best as you can. It's like a pre-sale. When applying, it's like pre-sale. You see those advertisements on the TV, people advertising about this certain product. That's basically what your application is. You're advertising about yourself. So that they'll read through all the applications and they're like, he's the best one, or she's the best one for the job, or whatever gender you decide to go by. But yeah, it's all up to you when you're applying for a job. So number one, make sure you sell yourself as best as you can. Number two, don't overdo it. Number three, make sure your application sounds decent. So try to answer the questions as best as you can. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in for my episode 2 on applying for jobs. Hope that podcast was educating for you.